Y'all know what time it is. Y'all know exactly what time it is right now. What's going on, everyone? Lucky Cheese 7 is back again to give you guys Chainsaw Man Part 2. Or, in general, just Chainsaw Man chapters 146 to 149. Honestly, I'm gonna be perfectly real here. Sometimes having these chapters come out bi-weekly is a blessing. Sometimes it is because it helps me ensure that I'm not too far behind on when it comes to chapter discussions for the streams. In this case, it was only 4, but the 4 chapters that were covered. I mean, shoot. Where do I even start? First of all, let me just say this right now. Anytime y'all are doing a stream and y'all are mad thirsty, like, number one, grab yourself some water. Or, if you're like me right now, got a bottle of apple juice on me. I don't know how long this is going to last, but it's always good to have some refreshments on you. Because you just never know how long these streams are going to be. Plus, my water bottle is just, or I should say my jug is like just sitting across the table, and I don't really feel the effort right now in picking it up. That's it. Dude, what is this latest arc in Chainsaw Man called? Like, I know I should really just dive into the chapter, but I'm curious. What is this arc called? Oh, okay, so we don't have a name yet. That's interesting. I'm assuming this is the Chainsaw Man Church arc. That's at the very least what I'm getting at. At the very least. But let's just dive right into the nitty and gritty, the meat and potatoes of chapter 146. Because 146, the Chainsaw Man War. First of all, last chapter we ended off on a really beast note with Yoshida severing off Asa's hand, kind of preventing them from her and Yoru from attempting to do with what they usually do, right? But Yoshida says this. Sorry to do this. After you followed my advice, and then he goes in, the Justice Devil grants contractors the power to transform into the form they desire. That's how we explained it to them. Aside from the devil's nickname, it's no lie. That's what Barham's saying. And then you get Fumiko over there. Nothing too important. My phone just went off. I was like, what happened this time? Anyway, Fami has some handy pawns. We contracted followers galore with an extraordinary devil. The devil I contracted them to was fire. And this was actually kind of nuts because what we get from here is you see one of the civilians, their forehead starts leaking out blood just out of nowhere, and you've got cops surrounding them. Once this happens, you see the chainsaw just spur out of their forehead, very similar to how Denji usually did when it came to the fight against Katana Man back in part 1. That is the look that they're all having. Even some of the elder people too, they're watching, they're even having little tiny chainsaws pop out of their head too. And it is chaos and mayhem that goes on. You've got Katana Man over here. And then basically anyone who was at the Chainsaw Man church and giving a lot of worship to Chainsaw Man, as essentially Denji in this case, that's kind of what they turn into. It's whoa, shoot. Even you look at Katana Man right now, he's like, Chainsaw Man. The Fire Devil has another power. The more contractors, the stronger their power. Although most of them lose control of themselves. Until now, they all took gruesome forms. But they're closer to Chainsaw Man now. Don't you think? And dude, like even like little kids. Like you've got a mom and a son. I'm assuming it's a mom and a son, but like holy shit. And Fumiko's like, but why only now? And Barum says at 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock today, large scale, no, large scale mass weddings were held at the Chainsaw Man churches, Chinese and Canadian chapters. And just so I don't have anything going off on my mail, I'm gonna turn it off, and also keep Discord off too, because you know, you never know. Uh, large scale mass weddings were held at the Chainsaw Man churches, Chinese and Canadian chapters. Hmm. We set it up so that they enter contract simultaneously with the marriages. If all went as planned, we estimated a total of over 3,500,000. Shit, dude, that's a lot of people with Fire Devil contracts worldwide. No humans is inaccurate. They're all devils now. And like you see like the building like catching on fire. You like Denji's like in total shock. Fumiko's like also like having like a sweat drop. Like, what the hell? In half a year, the great king of terror will descend. Fami and I, we aim to kill the king, thereby saving the human race. By turning them into devils? That's a little bit contradictory, don't you think? I mean, that sounds like a huge contradiction, in all honesty. Great King of Terror, you believe that stupid crap? That's what Denji's saying. And Nayuta is the first one to just say it. He's like, it isn't stupid crap, which I'm just like, excuse me? Fami and I, we can tell, because we're sisters. The Great King of Terror is probably coming for real. We know it's because she's our eldest sister. And this is a theory everyone has been talking about in the Chainsaw Man community for like eons. Like ever since like it was in conversation since part one, but definitely it's been like a huge talking point since we started part two. Like since War Devil was introduced. Yoru in this case. Our eldest sister, the Death Devil. And like dude, like this is such a like this panel, Fujimoto, like he really went like all in with this panel because like you see like the building on fire, you see like these civilians like they ain't playing like for shits right now. The super duper, I can tell it's something. The super duper strongest devil with the name feared most of all. The knight says, "I see now. I know what Fami's trying to do. Her plan to kill the Death Devil. She's going to make everyone terrified of Chainsaw Man and war. To get them both super duper duper strong. And I mean, like, bro, it is a slaughter fest right now. Like, it is like a mad slaughter fest with what goes down. And like, quite honestly, like, I was taken aback when I read this chapter because I got to this point, I was like, dude, that's nuts. And you get a nice feel of everything. You got a little bit of a katana, man. You got a little bit of what was going on with Asa, with her struggle against Yoshida. But then also just the name drop of the Death Devil. I mean, look, you keep in mind right now, currently, we are 52 chapters deep into part two. Like, if we look at the end of part one, okay? Part one ended with 97 chapters. And now with the chapter I'm about to talk, what I'm about to discuss, 147, that is now like the 50 chapter mark for part two. So if we're assuming part two is gonna end around the same length, that only gives us, I think, like 38 more chapters at least. No, is it 38? No, hold on. 50 plus no 30. 52 plus 38 is 90. So 45. You would still relatively have like 45 more chapters before you get to like the end all be all of Chainsaw Man. But would that be enough to wrap up part two? I mean, if you're getting the name drop of the Death Devil right now, like what would this be technically for part two? Let me think here. Because part two started with volume 12. And currently, right now, volume 16, like it's gonna drop on December 4th, right? That would be what would that be? So not next month, so not Monday, but the following Monday after that. If I'm guessing where we're at right now, we are in the currently for part two. This is this is the fifth volume in part two. Looking at it like this is the fifth volume in part two. That still gives us like at least no, not even because right now because volume 16 ended with 144. So where we are currently at the moment, we're in the middle of volume 17, which would be in terms of part two, that would be in the middle of volume 6. So that still gives us like 5.5 more volumes to go. But let's keep moving forward with 147. So Barham's there. Chapter title for 147 is called Cremation. Bingo. Leave it to the former Makima to figure it out. You see, Chainsaw Man? We can't afford to have you chicken out. We need you to go wild like you used to. Like, really go leaning into the whole holiness of worshiping Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man has spoken to me with a revelation. That little girl. And as soon as he said that little girl, I'm like, you did not just call out Nayuta like that. Because the second you start saying that, Denji's gonna say some shit. He's like, that little girl is a witch who will one day plunge the world of darkness into darkness. And something to point out for anyone who has read the Nayuta one shot that was included in the um Tatsuki Mudo. I said Tatsuki. Combining Tatsuki and Fujimoto into one word. But if you look at like the series of one shot collections that came out, I think it's the second one shot collection from Tatsuki Fujimoto. There's a one shot that's centered specifically on like Nayuta, not this Nayuta, but like who Nayuta was. And what's being said here is very much in line with what one of the characters are saying about that Nayuta. And again, that story was completely separate to Chainsaw Man, but knowing Fujimoto and his writing style, like I like these little callbacks to like other works, because it's not like they're linked together. It's more like, hey, I'm gonna throw a little nod to like one of the works that he used to do, and I think that's really, as a writer, I think that's cool. Like you wouldn't really. It's something like even if you didn't know about the one shot, like it's still like, whoa, what is he talking about? But it just adds the extra layer of like, damn, holy shit. I know exactly what he's talking about. And the kind of writer Fujimoto is, he's great. Anyway, plunge the world in darkness. And you have both actually, Denji and Nayuta saying like, say what? And Barham's like killer. So they're going in for the attack. And this is when Quan Chi shows back up. And Quan Chi, dude, I loved Quan Chi in part one, and seeing her again in part two is great. It's amazing. Like she is like cutting down like heads like it's like no tomorrow. Seeing this, Fumiko's like Quan Chi senpai catching Well, it was Denji and Nayuta up. Like, wait, whoa, what's going on? Like, there's like buildings being not buildings, but like I've heard there were buildings being dropped, but no, it's not buildings. Quanchi just takes them afloat, like from all the corrupted devils now. Fumiko's like kind of in a trance, like, oh man, what is this? Then you've got some of these other folks over here, other devils. They're charging in, and Quan Chi is like still like no, like she ain't holding back whatsoever. She's like going straight in, and it's amazing. It's beautiful. And I love this line of dialogue, and it's very meta because Fujimoto did this also in part one too. He's like, she's like a manga character come to life. I'm like, you don't say. You get this. Denji's like, what the hell? And again, she's doing all this by herself. I mean, we know how crazy Quan Chi was in part one, but to see her again in part two and just seeing like what she's able to do, great. This is a mass devil outbreak. Those who have taken the devil extermination exam, please assist with the suppression efforts. You got this, you got the burning body, you got the bodies being burned. Is burning the bodies really necessary? As long as they have blood, these pseudo chainsaw men can revive with one pull of the starter on their chest. This is the simplest way to get rid of them. And then you get that. Then you have one of the old dudes like pointing over to Denji. I know him. He's a chainsaw man wannabe too. And Denji's like, excuse me? The hell are you talking about? I'm a chainsaw man wannabe. Get out of here. It's a rather amusing note to end off, but it's also one that kind of leaves you in with a bit of suspense. Ooh, like, how exactly is Denji gonna walk himself out of this? You know? And given that, I will say once again, pure perfection. Like it's been like nonstop. Like this is another pure perfection chapter. Everything because you're seeing like with what's going on from the point with all these humans who've been converted to Chainsaw Man devils, and then Quan Chi showing up, look, being like a total badass. Like it's amazing. It's great. Plus, again, little nice little nod to the Yogi no Nayuta one shot. But yeah, overall, like 147, pure perfection, without a doubt. Now, 148, Room 606 Sword. Now, when I read that chapter title, I was like, "Yo, Asa's about to pull something." Because if you call it Room 606 Sword, it's like, oh, okay, Asa and Yoru are definitely going to be okay on their end of things, just based on that chapter title alone. So they're pointing over. Quan Chi is defending Denji. He's a Chainsaw Man wannabe? Are you sure? Well, what's going on over there? I'm not one of them. Don't fool me. You could turn at any moment. I know one when I see one. The disrespectful kids like you all turn into pseudo Chainsaw Man. I saw it again and again. And Denji's like, well, what the hell? And Fumiko pulls out her badge like, we're public safety devil hunters. Look, I have proof. It's like, we saw a public safety agent turn into one of them too. So it's not just with Denji, it's more like they're showcasing doubt with anyone. Sorry, kid. Let us, no, not let us. Show us your chest for our peace of mind. We don't have time for this. I told you he was suspicious. Show us your chest now. And he's like pulling the gun and everything. And Quan Chi disappointingly looking over at Kathy Sutherland and thinking, like, what the hell is going on here? And she says, run. Like, just escape. So Fumiko's running away, Denji's running away while he's carrying Nayuta. It's like, hey, well, wait. And Quanchi ain't taking no shit for granted. Like, she's like pulling her hand off to the side, taking a bullet. And Fumiko looks over, and Quan Chi still just saying run, as you see like the sense of fear and dread on Fumiko's expression. It really makes you feel for her. It really does. See the blood dripping, and I love this use of transition because you see just her hand, Quan Chi's hand, right? Then you cut back over to Asa with her hand being chopped off. Got Yoshida there. Asa's in total shock. Ow! Octopus! And right when that happens, Asa just says three things. Room 606 sword. And as that happens, the entire room gets converted. Just like that. And Yoru pops out. And dude, this is the one thing I think is really cool about the War Devils because, like, you get a sword, but you never get an idea of like what kind of sword it's going to become, and it's such a creative approach for Fujimoto to take for designs. But you got Yoru now in the picture. We turned it into a weapon without even touching it, which is saying so much. Yes, incredible. Our power is increasing. Yoshida looking like he's in shock and I'm like, hail to the no. Like, what am I supposed to do now? But he's still trying to keep it cool. Nope, got this. We got this. Not gonna worry about it. You got Yoru looking all smug. You get like what's remain. Like, there's like nothing left from her apartment, which is understandably so. And then you have like the building exploding in the back. This might take some adjustment. That cowardly octopus already fled. And she flips over, lands on the ground, sees like the destruction of man that's happened, and then like she starts cackling like the world remembers me at long last. And something I didn't actually realize when I made my thumbnail for the stream, if you notice, one of the panels it just says the Death Devil, right? And then the next panel I put right next to it was remembers me at long last. That was actually not intentional. I was just grouping like images together for the thumbnail for the stream. And when I noticed that, I was like thinking, I'm not changing that. That's actually too perfect. The Death Devil remembers me at long last. It, honestly speaking, it's gonna get me curious when we do get the Death Devil. But again, another peak chapter of Chainsaw Man, just based on everything we're getting, because we're not just pointing out Denji, we're also pointing out Fumiko too, because like, it's not just hey, it's just a him. It's also that we saw public safety members turn into Chainsaw Devils too. So it's giving like that sense of doubt, like wait a minute, what? There's no way, no way, absolutely no way in hell this is happening. And then also just getting the other half of the chapter just focused on Asa and Yoshida and just seeing with what she's able to do. Seeing Yoru like take the stance afterwards, kind of like with what they planned originally. Turning the room into a sword, which the sword looks pretty beastly, not gonna lie. Yoshida escapes, lives the fight on for another day. And Quan Chi defending Fumiko, Denji, and Nayuta. Perfect. Just absolutely perfect. And then, like, the ending of this chapter too, like, where you just have Yoru, like, just cackling. Like, the world remembers me at long last. Kinda also solidifying, like, why she was able to have, like, a greater grasp at her power because, like, now that it's in shambles, it's like her power is, like, increasing, if you will, which is honestly a nice touch. And quite honestly, pure perfection. Once again. Now, chapter 149, the latest chapter, which is the Devil's Choice. Got one of the officers, or at least one of the citizens. I foretold this. I warned you that mankind and the devils would go to war. This disaster, oh yeah, it's definitely a citizen. This disaster is divine retribution for ignoring the prophecy. Join me in obeying the voice of God, and together we'll burn the Chainsaw Man army to ashes. Burn Chainsaw Man! Burn Chainsaw Man! And you see all this going down as Fumiko, Denji, and Nayuta are like just hiding like in an alleyway. Oh boy. While we've been running away, the outbreak escalated into something out of an apocalypse movie. Then Denji asks, like, hey, this is an emergency, right? If push comes to shove, I'll bust out the chainsaws. And Fumiko says, don't be ridiculous. This is the worst time to turn into Chainsaw Man. If those people see you transform, they'll burn you to a crisp. Don't worry, I'll protect you too. And Denji's kind of just like, huh. Yeah, like Fumiko, like, thank you for trying to help out, but I think we're fine. But Nayuta's like super blunt about it. She's like, we don't need your protection. I'm stronger than you. I'll kill anything that attacks us. And Fumiko seems a little taken aback by this. Like, and if humans attack us, could you kill them too? And Nayuta's like, no, duh. Humans are weak. I love the sass from Nayuta. Oh my god, like the sass Nayuta has is great. It is honestly great. Humans are weak sauce compared to devils. Give me just 1 second, guys. Give me a phone call. All right, nothing too big happened. Just little brief check in with fams. Anyway, back to what I was saying. I love the sass from Nayuta because again, she's so blunt, but she can be like super sassy about it too, and I just think it's like super funny. Humans are weak sauce compared to devils, and Fumiko's still just like, yo, like, bro, Denji, like, what have you been teaching her? And he's like, whatever's on educational TV. To which you see him getting a little like shook up, and he says, I've been worried about the apartment. Naita notices that too. She's like, the pets are hungry. And again, him, just the look in his eyes, you can tell he's a little like sweat. Like we got to go home. Come on, we obviously can't do that. I guarantee you those church freaks have staked out your apartment. The pets are totally waiting to be fed. Let's hurry, is what Denji and Nayuta say. And as that happens, Fumiko's still like persisting, like, I can't let you go home. We'll shelter you two at a public safety facility. Like, really just showing, like, hey, like, I really can't let y'all do this. Not right now. But Nayuta, she's like, like, I ain't doing that. Like, she pulls out one of the chains, controls one of the old ladies. The old lady, like chokes. Literally chokes Fumiko. And as that's going down, Denji, like, goes for the tickle attack. Like, take this tickle attack, which causes Naya to start bursting out laughing. And, and while that's happening, it's able to free Fumiko from being possessed and coughing. And Denji's like, "Run, Fumiko. We can manage on our own. If you stick around, she'll kill you for real." And like, you see, like, there is like this specific, like, you can't really tell for sure, but the way how Fujimoto drew Nayuta here with her like brows and like that grin, it's kind of got like that Makima feel to it. Not the good kind either. Like, because here's the thing, Makima may have been like nice and all, but under all that niceness, we knew, like, when you really look back at part one, like, and you see like all like the subtle clues and hints that Fujimoto laid out for Makima, it's it's really telling. Just seeing like the persona she had like deep down underneath, and it's not to say that Nayuta has that entirely, but it's, you can tell she has a few of those little quirks to her. And that's why Kishibe like entrusted Denji with, or entrusted Nayuta to Denji, because, you know, if being raised at a proper age, she won't become like another Makima. Like, yeah, there are tendencies of Makima in Nayuta. We've seen that. But Denji has a way to control her, which I think is, it's a little counterintuitive when you consider who the control devil is, but you also got to keep in mind too, like, to now, like, for Denji now, this is like his little sister, you know. But anyway, you get this, and Fumiko just takes his advice, like, she runs off, and then Nayuta's like, she becomes like totally chill. Okay, let's head home now. And as soon as like that goes down, like, he lays it out straight, like, "Hey, Nayuta, you really tried to kill her just now, didn't you?" And Nayuta just says it's fine for devils to kill living things of any kind. Fish swim, trees photosynthesize. It's the same thing. And Denji even, or is it? No, I don't think this is Denji. I think this is Nayuta talking. You must feel it instinctively too. Hurting people makes you feel alive, doesn't it? And Denji again is like, just like, shit. It's like, why? And Nayuta continues with Denji. Want to join the devil's sides with me? And he says, "You can't be serious. I gave it a lot of thought before I fell asleep. Human creatures, fun and all, but isn't it suffocating? If we ruled over people as devils, we could pick out our favorite foods whenever we want. We could own cats of every breed, or even 100 dogs." And Denji almost slips up here initially, because he says, "But what about my what up?" And but then he corrects himself by saying, "What about your friends at school?" And Naito says, "Honestly, who cares if they die? You don't care either. I'm all you need." And as soon as she says that, you see Denji not necessarily sweating, but not exactly like keeping it like hidden. And Naito can notice. Um, like just by his facial expression and by not saying anything, she tells him like, "Hey, you just remembered Asa Mitaka, didn't you?" See the look in his eyes? She says, "Why is that loser important to you? You risked your life to protect her the other day too. I don't get it." And I love the answer Denji gives, because he just says, "Because we kissed." And Nayuta's like, "That's it?" And Denji's like, "Yeah, like, I've kissed a bunch of times up until now, and it always went horribly wrong." I mean, that's true. Anytime this man got a smooch, like, it's smelled trouble. It smelled like mad trouble for Denji. But he goes on to say this: "That kiss with Asa was the one time I didn't get hurt." And now you just continues like, "Do you like her?" And I love how much he like shows his like hand, like showcasing the size, like yeah, like this much. And then Nayuta continues like, "What about me?" And he like extends like all his hands out this much, and like that gets Nayuta like super happy. She like embraces him with a warm hug. It's like fine, I won't kill humans. Now let's hurry home, mush. And like that's how the chapter ends. And it's a great chapter, beautiful chapter. Don't really have much complaints at all, really. I mean, like, yeah, if I were to nitpick one thing, I do wish we got a little bit of a follow up on what was going on with Asa, but that kind of also gets me feeling like Fujimoto has something in store for us when it comes to Asa. Like, especially with how we left off with Asa in 148, like, we're getting something. And whatever that is, like, I'm all in for it. I really am. And what I can say for sure, this arc of Chainsaw Man, this is easily, as far as part two goes, probably one of the best. This is definitely one of the best arcs of Chainsaw Man, if not the best arc of part two so far. We still need to see how it wraps up, but as of right now, I am loving the direction of where Fujimoto has been taking us with Chainsaw Man. I mean, like, yeah, like at first it was a little not cautious. I was curious with where we were going, but really taking it on into consideration and seeing with where Fujimoto has been leading us with this whole Chainsaw Man Church arc and just getting to this point, it's brilliant. Actually, it's awesome because you get a little bit of an idea of what's been going on with Asa on her end of things since we last saw her. You get some development on Denji's side of things. You have Nayuta playing a role too, obviously. Getting little name drops of the Death Devil, and then, of course, just the Fire Devil, and having a lot of returning characters come back. Like, you have Katana Man come back. You got Justice Devil. Not Justice Devil. Quan Chi. Quan Chi's back in the picture, too. Now, one thing I think a lot of people are curious about is when is Reze showing back? And I do think we're going to see Reze soon. I do believe that 100%. Reze is going to pop up again soon. When? I've got no idea, but I know Fujimoto was aware how much a lot of people have been anticipating for Reze's return. It's just a matter of when are we going to see Reze? And I feel like the kind of author Fujimoto is, he's going to unveil Reze when we least expect it. And that, I believe, is going to be when we see her again. Another character we also need to see again is Kobeni. Kobeni, like, we haven't seen Kobeni in like a long time since the end of part one. Kobeni hasn't really been shown at all. Like, we've seen her brother, we've seen Nobana, which again will serve as a interesting setup for when we do see Kobeni again. And I'm honestly kind of curious with what Kobeni has to offer for the story. Whether it's big or small, like I feel like Kobeni does have some things to offer for the narrative. Of course, like considering with what happened with her and Denji in the final arc of part one, and just seeing with where everything has been going thus far for Denji, of like Denji again so far. When you look at part two, like Denji has grown very subtly as a character. Like, yeah, there are times in the story where you see Denji and it's like, bro, why are you acting the same way you were in part one? But when you get little moments like this, it showcases his growth. Like, what's happened to him since the end of part one? and seeing where he was then and seeing where he is now, it's beautiful. And overall, my thoughts on Chainsaw Man, like chapters 146 to 149, pure perfection. No surprise, right? Because each chapter I've been reading, it's been pure perfection. And I honestly cannot wait to see what we get with chapter 150. But aside from that, you guys, that's pretty much all I have to say when it comes to this live stream discussion on Chainsaw Man Part 2, chapters 40, yeah, 49 through 52, or in total 146 through 149. Let me know what you guys thought on the chapter. What was your favorite part about it? Do you have any gripes with the chapters? What are you guys looking forward to for the remainder of part 2? Because I do feel like we're not necessarily in the end game of part 2, but I think Fujimoto is setting up the ground for it, especially with the name drop of the Death Diver. And aside from that, you guys, that's pretty much it. I'm Lucky7. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more Chainsaw Man content, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace.